2012 drehte sie als erste saudische Regisseurin einen Spielfilm. Dann ging sie nach Hollywood und verfilmte die Biografie von Mary Shelley, die Autorin von Frankenstein. Für ihren neuen Film, Die perfekte Kandidatin, kehrte Haifaa al-Mansour wieder zurück in ihre Heimat. Heute ist sie unser perfekter Gast. Und ich möchte von ihr wissen, was sich in den letzten Jahren verändert hat. Für sie und im Königreich Saudi-Arabien. Herzlich willkommen, Haifaa al-Mansour.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, there's a lot of things that changed in the film industry back home in Saudi Arabia. When I filmed Wadjda in 2012, the country was segregated, and every time I went out in the streets, I was in a van and wasn't being able to be with the crew because of that. But now the country is opening up, and there is space for art in the streets, and just going back and don't have to be in the van and have sometimes, even if we are in a place where there was restriction, like a conservative person who doesn't like us to in the streets or anything, then we will call the police and the police will give us protection. So that kind of legal cover, that made it a lot easier for me to work. Because making a film is really hard, especially in a place like Saudi Arabia where we don't have a complete infrastructure for film. We don't have like casting agents or location scouters and things that make the industry a lot easier. So yeah, it was in a way easier.
Sie sagen gerade, die Dinge sind im Aufbau noch begriffen. Wie sind Sie denn eigentlich für das Casting vorgegangen für den neuen Film?
The casting was very tricky. Mila Zahrani, who played the main role, is an aspiring TV actress. When I saw some of her work, and I really liked her, and it was easier for us to find the main cast. But everybody else was non-professional actor, including the girl who played Salman in the film. And Salma's character is spiky, has a lot of fun, and has a lot of humor. And it was really hard to find someone who can land this. And Day is like an Instagram influencer. I don't know what does that mean, but she has a lot of small comedy sketches and stuff. And she came in and she gave a really amazing audition where she wasn't taking herself seriously. She was, and she put herself out there, and that is why she landed the role. And I feel like I admire actresses like that who are willing to put themselves out there, especially when Saudi Arabia we are very conservative and shy, and she wasn't like that. So.
Der Schauspielberuf in Saudi-Arabien, Sie haben es eben gesagt, es war schwierig, den weiblichen Part zu finden. Grundsätzlich, das Renommee eines Schauspielers oder einer Schauspielerin, welchen Stellenwert hat das in Saudi-Arabien?
Of course, yeah. Like performers, for so long, Saudi Arabia went through a very conservative phase with a lot of like the conservative, very Islamic conservative ideology is about excluding women and art from the public space. And so women performers never were respected. Were never treated. It was not a profession that you aspire for your daughter or kids. It is only if you. A lot of the actresses, they do it because they want to. Financially, they need a profession. But now it changed a lot. We're trying to give them awards and try to establish. Respect when it comes to performance art.
Heißt das, es ist im Moment kein Wagnis für die Hauptdarstellerin beispielsweise jetzt in diesem Film aufzutreten? Man sieht sie in weiten Teilen des Filmes ohne Kopfbedeckung beispielsweise, in ihrer privaten Kleidung.
No, there is no risk. Really, I think we have a TV, so we have a lot of actresses. There is no risk in a way that is it is a profession. Like there are actresses and there are singers and there are female, but it is just like those social stigma that comes along with being in a profession like that. And you would like to see some actors to be treated like a doctor or treated like a lawyer, has similar respect and bring that respect back to Saudi Arabia, to the artists in Saudi Arabia is very important. And I think now there is a movement of empowering artists. Like even me myself, I feel like more empowered as a filmmaker, and I can, especially that cinema is now legal. I can apply for for permission, and I can shoot in Saudi Arabia. It is not like before when I shot Wadjda in 2012. you feel whenever you are in the street, you are fragile and you are chased somehow, and you don't feel safe. Even if some conservative person comes and asks us to leave, even if they don't have an official title, still they had more power on the street than artists. And now artists are treated with more legality and more, we have power to say, no, I exist in the street the same way you exist in the street. So that is important.
Wie kommt diese Veränderung zustande? Sie ist ja dann sehr schnell vonstatten gegangen.
I think it went very fast, but also like Saudi Arabia is a very young population, and a lot of the population is under the age of 35. And those people, like this generation grew with social media, they grew part of the big world. And I think that change is very essential to accommodate their needs. They just want to go and have a meal, listen to music, and a lot of the girls don't want to be married off. They want to choose their partners, and they want to change they want to have more normal life. And I think it is very important to bring art in a place like Saudi Arabia, because if you want to to build a civilization that is capable of having a human being that is warm and open and learning, you cannot do it without bringing art and music and film and literature, and that is really the foundation for a culture.
Sie haben in vielen Ihrer Interviews immer wieder betont, Sie kommen aus einem liberalen Elternhaus. Ihr Vater ist Poet und Dichter, also Sie hatten eine Affinität zur Kunst. Was bedeutet es in Saudi-Arabien, liberal zu sein? Konkret.
I grew up in a small town, and my parents didn't even speak English, and they're but they were kind. They were supportive. My parents I come from a big family. Like I have 12 siblings. My father and my mother never told me my brother has more rights, and never forced me to veil. They never forced me to. Well, they wanted me to be like an engineer or like a doctor.
Das Übliche, was man sich in der arabischen Welt wünscht.
I think no, but it is something that because they are middle class and we value education and having a profession and all that. It's part of who we are. But still, my mom loved to sing, and my father was a poet, so we really appreciated art. But whenever I stepped outside as a kid in Saudi Arabia, when Saudi Arabia was conservative, I was confronted with a different reality, especially in school. That is, like I always taught, like women's voices has to be quiet, and you always need to work with women. You cannot get exposed to men. And I think what is happening now, it is girls now encouraged to break away from those traditional roles, and they are diversifying the workspace where women are not only working with women in a very segregated. Like I go to the mall in Saudi Arabia now, and there is a lot of cashiers and a lot of salesperson.
Das heißt also, die Welt von Wadjda, von dem Mädchen in ihrem ersten Film, das sich das Fahrrad wünschte und es als unschicklich galt, die existiert so nicht mehr?
Maybe it exists in small towns and stuff like that, but I think it's changed a lot. I think the Saudi society is a society in transformation and movement. So it is really, but it is still, there are a lot of values, like a lot of values which is very traditional about seeing women in a specific place, and to change those values, you really need time. It is not only like, for example, women now can travel on their own without permission from their male guardian. Things like this has eased up. But I'm sure a lot of Saudi women have questions in their minds. Would I travel alone? How that would affect my reputation? How that would affect my social life? How would affect? So there is so many things that has to change in how women view the world and how their families and people around them empower them on their life. It's not only changing the rules, also like changing the everyday values, which is, I feel, is more important because it is really like empowers women on who they are. Like I grew up when Saudi Arabia was conservative, and there were so many rules. I couldn't drive, I couldn't do anything, but having a family that is supportive, which had like very liberal values that they put to themselves, allowed me to be who I am today. And I think those values, what we should strive in bringing in for people, and it takes time, it takes a lot of education.
Stichwort Veränderungen, da setzt Ihr aktueller Film auch an. Darin erzählen Sie die Geschichte von Maryam, einer jungen Ärztin, die in einer saudischen Kleinstadt in einer Notfallklinik arbeitet und es nicht hinnimmt, dass die Zufahrtsstraße in derart schlechtem Zustand ist, sodass Patienten nur sehr umständlich dorthin gelangen können. Um das zu ändern, kandidiert sie für den Gemeinderat. Wir schauen uns jetzt einen Ausschnitt aus diesem Film an. Ja, was heißt es denn eigentlich, in Saudi-Arabien in einem Gemeinderat zu arbeiten? Welche Kompetenzen hat ein Gemeinderat?
I think it is like you have to have an agenda. You have to have like anywhere else, and the irony, like the perfect candidate, is she didn't have that experience to be a politician really, but she had the heart for it, and that is the main thing. Like you need a politician that has a heart and has the will to do to succeed. And so a lot of women, like now women in Saudi Arabia can run for an office and they can be in the can vote, but a lot of women are like shy to take like positions that are under the spotlight, and also but shy of the failure, right? But it is very important for us women to put ourselves there, and I think the failing is part of the journey. Failing is as important as success, and it is only by putting ourselves out there that is people will get to see women in leadership positions, whether in CEOs or on politics, local politics, or as filmmakers. It is you have to take that initiative to get out of your comfort zone, and so I think a lot of her expertise, she gets her, and now we have a lot of social media, and I think the existence of the internet created an enormous source of education for a lot of Saudis, because they feel that it is a place where people can meet and can talk and can discuss things.
Dieses Empowerment für die Frauen in Politik und Öffentlichkeit, sich zu engagieren, woher kommt das? Ist das von oben herab sozusagen als jetzt ein Teil der Veränderung, die initiiert wird? Oder ist es ein Self-Empowerment, das aus den Familien und von den Frauen selber kommt?
I think it is both. It is like the Middle East is a very complicated place. You cannot say it is coming from here or coming there or from there. There is lots of factors that contribute to change and contribute to the situation what is happening. I think there is a lot of young, educated Saudi women who wants to have better jobs and who want to have dreams and all that leads to change. But what is I feel it is important is that like a lot of women in politics it's appointed, right? How much the general public will have trust and elect a woman if a woman goes and runs for an office like this. It is not very much, and we've seen like in places like Kuwait and Egypt where they have women have more longer political experience. Still, they don't have a lot of like the general public do not generally trust women in leadership, and it's still we have very similar problem in the States and in Europe and the West. And Hillary Clinton is like a real example of how capable women sometimes cannot reach the finishing line because of a lot of biases when it comes to women in leadership positions. But still, we should create this collective history, and we should celebrate women's success. And I think for example, in Saudi, we have like the first female ambassador to the U.S., which is a woman, and it's such an important position. And that is, I think, empowers other women and see that maybe I can do it, maybe I can succeed. So having examples like this could encourage.
Sind Sie auch so ein Rollenvorbild? Sie sind inzwischen die bekannteste saudische Regisseurin.
I don't see myself as a role model, really, but I see myself. What I would love to what people would take of my experience back home is like to do something because you have passion for it, and that is what I started making films where there is no industry, and people were like ridiculing me on the newspaper, like we don't have film. What kind of film? Like nobody took me seriously. And I really wasn't doing it, and genuinely didn't feel like I will succeed. I didn't feel like one day I'll be a filmmaker, talk to you, or go to Switzerland and try to promote the film. I never thought that way. But I was doing films making films just because it gave me that satisfaction. And it's almost like therapy for me. And I was making shorts and documentaries with limited budgets. And I was trying just to tell a story.
Wie erleben Sie denn die Solidarität unter Frauen? Es ist ein Thema, das Sie auch in Ihrem neuen Film auch ansprechen. Aber bei Ihnen persönlich, erleben Sie die Unterstützung von Frauen?
I get a lot of support from women. And I think we need to cultivate that sisterhood. And we need to create also a collective history for us and legacy. Like Mary Shelley, for example, I was really excited to make a film like this, and she's so different than me. She's a British woman. The film is a period and all that, but I think she is one of the few women who created science fiction. Like she came in Jane Austen. She's a contemporary of Jane Austen, and Jane Austen was writing all about like jealousy and love and domestic sphere, but she chose to write something that is philosophical, challenges a lot of the notions and religion in her time, and we should claim that. A lot of people say the Frankenstein book is like masculine, but it is really it is a direct result of her experience as a woman, with an exhausting relationship with her husband, the loss of a child, and all that created the monster. And those things, we have to claim them, and we have to have this history among us, and we should come together and support each other, whether is it an executive or a producer, and we create that. And even if it doesn't exist now, we should cultivate it, and we should strive to have that kind of solidarity.
Lassen Sie uns trotzdem noch über die Männer sprechen, insbesondere über die jungen Männer. Sie haben es vorhin schon angesprochen, fast die Hälfte der Bevölkerung in Saudi-Arabien ist unter 30. Welche Einstellungen haben denn heute junge Männer? Viele von ihnen, gerade aus der Oberschicht, studieren ja auch im Ausland, kommen dann zurück. Kommen die mit veränderten Einstellungen zurück oder hatten die einfach eine gute Zeit im Ausland und übernehmen dann trotzdem wieder die konservativen Ansichten ihrer Eltern?
No, I'm sure. I'm sure if you go and study somewhere else and you come back, you become different because, university years are really build who you are, and if you get exposed to a lot of education and you definitely change. I think young people are more and more. They choose and pick from tradition, and they want to have more normal life where the relationship, especially between the genders, are more equal but I think we also need to bring, for example, I am a feminist, but I have never chose to make films where men are the ultimate villain or the evil. The father in the film is very outspoken, like soft-spoken and kind and supportive to his kids, and has a dream of his own. And I feel it is very important to celebrate that kind of masculinity in the Middle East and put it front and center in movies and pop culture and all that. Our exposed, like in the Middle East, and what is masculinity and TV and drama and everything is the ultimate father who slaps their daughters and like control them and like violent, and that is what we've seen a lot in film when it comes to portraying Middle Eastern men and repeating that image. It creates like this is what masculinity is, and that is how I should be, and I think that is not real because that is certainly that exists. It is in a lot of places a sexist culture.
Es existiert und gerade läuft.
It does exist, but also it exists like people like my father and my friend's father who are kind and supportive, but we don't celebrate them. We don't because it's not good for drama sometimes. It's easy drama to have the villain like the father who controls the family. It is really important to celebrate also that kind of man.
Genau, also das ist das Ideal auf der einen Seite und die Realität auf der anderen Seite. Gerade läuft ein Schweizer Doc-Film, der heißt Saudi Runaway und der wird bei uns heftig diskutiert. Es dokumentiert die heimliche Flucht einer jungen Frau aus Saudi-Arabien, die der Enge und der Bestimmung über sie entkommen will. Und man sagt, es seien jährlich rund 1000 Frauen, die aus Saudi-Arabien flüchten. Können Sie das nachvollziehen, jetzt zu einem Zeitpunkt, wo doch alles auf Öffnung und Veränderung steht?
I would like you to ask me about my film. All right, I'm not there to comment on someone else's products and films and their point of view. I am a filmmaker. I'm a filmmaker. When I make a film, that is how I contribute to change and how I put myself. So that is, and my film is about a young Saudi girl who's trying to find her voice.
Werden Sie Ihren Film in Saudi-Arabien zeigen?
Of course, my film will show in Saudi Arabia. Yes.
Was waren die Reaktionen?
We showed it in Venice. It's going to show in May. There will be like a lot of, it is a film that has a lot of humor, has a lot of music. It's a story that has a lot of heart. And for me, I think it's very important to engage audience. I grew up in Saudi Arabia where there is no audience, no cinema, right? So for me, when I make a film, I want to make a film that is entertaining, that is fun, and tells a story. And I feel if you want to engage people and want to touch their heart and really change them, you need to entertain them. That is my approach to cinema. That is my approach to change. And that is my approach to my life even. I'm not a confrontational person. I don't want to push people out of their comfort zone. And that is, for me, what the role of art is. To create the atmosphere for things to happen.
Das heißt, Kunst hat für Sie keine politische Relevanz?
No, art has political relevance, but art is not activism. Art is entertaining, touches the soul, and hopefully create a relaxed environment where people learn. And that is very important. You cannot create an environment that is relaxed and tolerant and open to change without music and literature and philosophy and all that. That creates a human being who can have the capability of opening up to the world and learning. And I feel my role as an artist is to bring that, to bring humor and to bring fun, to bring music, to bring things like this and hopefully touch people. It's not like only pushing people out of their comfort zone. A time of change is very difficult. People get nervous and they cling to their values.
Ich kann das sehr gut nachvollziehen aus meiner eigenen arabischen Biografie, wie sensitiv das alles ist. Aber dieser Film machen Sie ja für ein internationales Publikum. Das heißt, ein westliches Publikum wird Ihnen möglicherweise vorwerfen, er ist zu wenig kritisch, er geht zu wenig weit, er hat nicht die Sprache eines Verständnisses von wirklich Veränderungen herbeizuführen. Wenn Sie ihn aber einem arabischen und speziell saudi-arabischen Publikum vorführen, wird das ein ganz anderes Echo auslösen. Wie gehen Sie mit dieser Gratwanderung zwischen den Kulturen?
I think my films are very, they have important issues always, but they are told in a way that is fun, that is entertaining. And it is writing, I want to make a film that is celebrated back home and opens hopefully in theaters in Saudi Arabia. And a lot of young girls go and see themselves in Maryam, and a lot of men go and see themselves in the father and all that. But also I would love the film to open in Switzerland, in Zurich, and that is my dream as a filmmaker, to reach a wider audience. So the writing process becomes really complicated because you have a situation sometimes is very local and you want to open it to the world and without losing authenticity. That is why writing a project like this, where you want to have a humor and you want to open up a culture that sometimes is very far and very not accessible to the outside world is not easy. And trying to bring situations that are meaningful without authenticity is very important.
Sie wurden 2018 ernannt in einen Rat, wo es Kultur geht von der saudischen Regierung. Was ist Ihre Aufgabe in diesem Kulturrat?
I really strive all the time to provide opportunities for young generation of filmmakers. Filmmaking in Saudi Arabia, because we don't have an industry, we don't have it is hard for producers, for international producers to come and make a film in Saudi Arabia sometimes because we don't have an industry that is people who are trained and all that. So it's harder for younger filmmakers to get the resources to make a film that travels and is not only local. So always my hope is to provide opportunities for those young filmmakers to find the producers, to sharpen their voice, to give them funding, to write a work on their script. And
riskieren Sie nicht gleichzeitig aber auch Ihre Unabhängigkeit? Sie haben jetzt diesen Film gemacht, das ist eine deutsch-saudische Produktion. Haben Sie mit den Behörden zusammengearbeitet?
I submitted the film to, and everybody works with the authorities if you go back to Saudi Arabia. It is, you have to submit the script and you have to get permission to shoot in Saudi Arabia. And I feel it is very important for me to shoot my film in Saudi Arabia because it's a world that nobody sees. And when I go and work in Saudi, I work like in a place like it. It is a very, I work with non-professional actors and I try to bring in a lot of intimacy to the film. Because I would like people to see Saudi Arabia away from the politics and the news and all that. So for everybody who wants to work in Saudi Arabia, you have to go through that office and you have to submit and you have to do like, yes, and Saudi Arabia is conservative. So when I'm writing in Saudi, I know there are a lot of things that I need to stop and respect. And for me, I would love to respect that because it allows me to be heard back home and hopefully widen the perspective. And I think it is like sometimes there is like I feel there is antagonist from your questions, like pushing, you do this, you do that, as if you are accusing, there is accusative tone. And it is really pushes artists like me who are trying to make change really happen and inside Saudi Arabia and not appreciated. And it is a difficult situation because it is really hard for us as an artist to create a film that is meaningful and you want to reach a wider audience. And that is why it is very important to support art inside Saudi Arabia. It is very much to support every liberal values and progressive values that is happening there.
Eine kurze Frage, wir sind schon fast am Schluss. Sie leben und arbeiten vor allem in den USA. Haben Sie eigentlich Heimweh? Vermissen Sie etwas an Saudi-Arabien?
Of course, I miss a lot in Saudi Arabia. I go and visit my mother. My mother lives in a small hometown. I go visit her. I miss the food. I miss my sisters and my relatives. And it is home. So yeah, of course I miss a lot of stuff like that.
Gut, ich bedanke mich ganz herzlich bei Ihnen für dieses Gespräch. Haifaa al-Mansour.
Thank you so much.
Wir bleiben noch etwas beim Thema Saudi-Arabien und die Frauen. Basma Khalifa ist eine junge britische Stylistin und Filmemacherin mit saudischen Wurzeln. 2019 geht sie zurück in ihr Geburtsland, um auszuloten, ob sie dort für immer leben könnte. Der Film Inside Real Saudi Arabia dokumentiert ihren Kampf mit den Regeln in der Öffentlichkeit und gibt seltene private Einblicke in das Leben einer saudischen Mittelstandsfamilie.